Hi everybody. So I'd like to show you some samples of what the next project's going to be. And you're going to have a lot of different kinds of options. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to start off with an image and we're going to put some text on it. And it's going to be an inspirational quote or a saying, something you're going to find off the internet that is going to be inspiring to somebody. Now you can make this for yourself, you can have somebody else in mind, but we can all use a little positive vibes out there. So when we first start this project, you're going to be thinking about what kind of quote you want. So here's a sample of one, and I'm using the same quote for all of these different versions. And it's from Desmond Tutu, and his hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness. So here we have a rainbow in the background, and of course you see the text. So this is one version. Here's another version, same quote, but I used a different font, and the image is the same, and some of the effects are different. Here's one more, same font, but different effects and filters being added to the text. So another version that you can do, instead of just having one image, is that you can do something that has two images. So this one is, there's an umbrella in the background with a raining environment, and then inside the letters, I don't know if you can see it well enough, but I had a sunny day. I had this picture right here. So what I did is I had this in the letters, and then I had the umbrella with the rainy day in the background. So if I used a different font like this one here, sometimes what happens is you really can't see that second picture really well, the sunrise or the sunshine. You see it better when you have thicker lettering. Now another version you can do is that you can use one image, but you can contrast what's going on the inside from the outside. So the outside is an unedited photo. It's the one that I had gotten, but inside the letters I used the same image, but I just changed the color to something that would be contrasting. So if there's a lot of blues and greens in the background, then I would be using those oranges and reds inside the letters for contrast. So I think that's all of them. So there are a lot of different options, but basically you're going to start off with one or two images along with the quote. So the very first step you're going to do is you're going to look for the quote. So I did type out some, and this was left over from a ransom note project that we did, an inspirational ransom note, and I typed in a couple of other ones. So, and they're kind of about being kind and being hopeful. So this was the one that I was using, and then here's another one that I just had typed in just recently. A couple places you can go to get your quotes, which is the first step, is you can just go on the internet and just type in inspirational quotes and you'll get a ton. But one of the really good website that has a lot of good quotes is a website called Brainy Quote. So Brainy Quote allows you to search through popular topics, popular authors, or you can just go ahead and click on more topics if you want, and if there's something that kind of interests you or you're curious about, you can go ahead and search for it. It's quite a comprehensive list. So if there's something that you want to look at, you go ahead and you find some quotes from pages and pages and pages of different quotes from different people. My suggestion is, if you find a quote, you probably want to keep the author, especially if it's somebody you've heard of, because that would increase the significance of that inspirational quote. So if you find the quote, you can write it down, you could put it in a Google Doc, and you just want it available for when you're ready to make the poster. So the next step is you're going to be finding one or two different images that would relate to that theme. If there are two images, you want them visually contrasting each other just so it's one stands out over the other one. But if it's just one image, of course, you don't have to worry about that. But no matter what, the images or image should reflect that theme that you're going to be working with. So I'm going to be going to Pixlr. You want to open up the image. The first demonstration, you're going to have a lot of different variations, but the first thing I'm going to show you is what to do when you have one image that you're working with. So this is the rainbow, and I'm going to be using that quote about hope. And so next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some text. So you're going to click on the type tool, or the text tool, and you click somewhere in the canvas, and it asks you if you want to add a layer, and you want to add a text layer. So then you're going to go ahead, here's a little shortcut, it's a little trick. I try to avoid typing at all costs. So if I do not like to type. But what I do need to do is I need to access my drive. So what I have in my drive is that quote. And like I said, I'm going to show you this little shortcut here. So what you can do is if you have this typed out in a doc, you can copy it. Then you can go to your photo Pixlr and make sure that that text is highlighted, and you can just paste it. I'm going to change the color to black just so it stands out. It's hard to see the white through the clouds. You can also adjust the size of your text box there. So you're going to be doing a couple things while this is still a text tool, text layer. You can see it's a text layer because there's a T in that thumbnail. I'm going to change the size. That's one thing you can do. You can go to settings and you can change the line spacing and stuff. But I think the first thing I want to do is I want to find a good font. When you find the font, you want to make sure that it is a font that's kind of thicker so it stands out more. If you get something that's too scripty, it's hard to read. If you get something that's too thin, it's hard to read. So you want to find something that is going to work just fine. And I kind of like that one. So it's at this point you can go ahead and change the size so it fills up the poster a little bit more. Looks like this whole box needs to be brought up a little bit. Okay. So you just want to center that. You can go to settings and you can change the line space. You can have it closer together. You can have the letter space. The spaces in between the letters farther apart or closer together, and you can see it starts changing the layout of the quote. Still going to keep this in the middle. So I think I like that. That looks good. It's the way I want it to look. So it's at this point, before we go further, as I said, you have line space, you have letter space. Decide if you want it aligned to the left or you want it aligned to the right. Most people will just align it in the center. There's also, this was pretty cool. I didn't realize this right away, but you can change it all to uppercase. You can see what it looks like if you change them all to uppercase as opposed to just some of the letters. You can do italicize, you can make it bold, but I really like it the way that it is. Now, you can go to styles. This is something that's exclusive while it's still a text layer. You click on styles. This is one way that you can kind of stylize your text here. If you click on background, really it just adds a background. It doesn't make it very nice looking. But if you click on outline, you get this outline. I think the default is gray. No matter what I do, it just goes back to gray. But you can click on the box and you can pick a color that would be better suited for what you want it to look like. And that outline, you can change the size. Looks like that. And you can also put a drop shadow on here. Now, another thing is if you go to punch out, what it does is it eliminates the letters. So what you have it left is the effect, that outline effect. You can also change the size of the outline. And also you can put that shadow, that drop shadow in there. So for some people, this is enough. You want to just leave it like this for some reason. You just want to make sure it's legible and it looks interesting enough. And you can leave it like that. But for me, I think I'm not going to be using those styles. I think I'm just going to go back to resetting this. And the shadow. I think I want to, start experimenting a little bit more with the filters and other effects. So what you're going to do is, before that, is you need to rasterize this layer. And what it does is it simplifies it. So there are a couple more things you can do now that it's rasterized. You can see that now there's no longer a T. So if I want to change the line spacing or the letter spacing, I can't do it right now. I would have to make it a text layer again. But what you can do is if you go to the Arrange tool, you can go to Edit, and you can do Free Transform. And this is something you weren't able to do before. You have a little bit more flexibility to move this around and change the size of it and that kind of thing. But this is where we're going to be playing around with the effects. Okay, so you want to explore some of the filters that you can do with this. But before we do, we need to copy the background. We're going to be making these letters. We're going to cut them out of the background. So we're going to go to background. We're going to go to background and, I'm sorry, we're going to go back to the letters. And we're going to use this magic wand tool, and we want to select all of the letters. So if you hit the magic wand tool, you're going to notice it just selects just one of the letters. You want it to select everything. So you're going to uncheck contiguous, which means connected. So what that means is when it's going to select everything that is black in this layer, regardless of whether or not it's connected to your selection that you clicked on or not. So you can see it selected all of the letters. We're going to go to the background. We are going to, you can go to edit and copy, or you can just go to Control C and Control V. So what it did is it kept the background, but it made a copy of the background. You can see it's right here. And then you're also left with the black letters. So we're going to make that invisible. And, oh, you know what? Before we do, let's line up these letters so they are absolutely exactly on top of the white, the black letters. Now I'm going to use the arrows next to the, on your keyboard. You can use the little brackets and line them up so it looks good. Now I'm going to make the letters that are traced off of invisible so you can see that it doesn't even look like there's anything there. So again, here's some of the variations. You can go to Filter. Be aware of the order that you do these. So I would usually tell you to start with Outer Glow so you can see that the outer glow appears. And you can change the feathering and the opacity, which is one thing that you weren't able to do with the outlining when we went to those settings earlier for the text. So something like that might look good. All right, so that's Outer Glow. Now watch what happens when I go back to Filter and I go to Outer Glow, because I know this gets a little bit confusing. Now I'm going to change this to red. Now you can see that this put an outer glow. might be a little bit difficult to see. It put an outer glow on an already existing outer glow. So, in other words, there is already that white, let me change this to 0, there's already that white outer glow, and this is just putting another outer glow. So you need to be aware of that. Like, it's not, like, once you make this, you can't go ahead and change this. It's just going to compound on top. So if you put other effects on, it's just going to compound. The outer glow or the inner glow are the better things to do first. Then, if you wanted to do a drop shadow, you can go ahead and do that. Here's your outline again. And you can see again, I'm going to change the color to red. And you can see again, it's going to put it right on top. Now, for some people, you might want those two colors on there. That actually looks kind of cool. But not for this. I'm going to keep this kind of simple. I'm also going to go to, and put the drop shadow on. I really like the way this looks with, when you do a really subtle outer glow. The opacity pretty much way up there. So that's actually a really nice look. I really like the way that looks. Lovely. Now, that's a version. Another version, if you wanted to, you can change the color of your letters. So what you can do is you can go to Adjustments and let's go through Saturation. And if I wanted to, I can change it here a little bit so it stands out a little bit more. Maybe I wanted to bring the saturation, make it gray on the inside. Maybe I want to make it a little lighter. So there's some variations that you can do there. Okay. So there's another type of poster that you can make where we're using two images. So a lot of the things are going to be similar, but there's also going to be some things that are going to be different. So let's go ahead and open up those images. So there's the umbrella. I'm going to go to Layers window and hit the plus sign. And I'm going to open up another image, and this is going to be the other layer that I want to use. This other image. Now you have to decide, do you want the sun to be the background and then have the letters cut out of the umbrella, or the other way around? So you can kind of make that decision later. We're going to have another layer, and that's going to be our text. So let's bring that back. I'm going to go back to the quotes. I'm going to copy it and paste it. And I'd have to go through the whole process again, setting up the size and the letter space and the whole bit. So I'm going to skip this. I'm going to jump ahead. Okay, so I picked a font. Then I made it large, and I messed with the line spacing and the letter spacing, and after I was done with that, I rasterized it, and then I stretched it out a little bit. So I think I've made the decision. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the letters be cut out of the sun, and then leaving the background as the umbrellas. So it's kind of the same process where you're going to be using the magic wand tool and selecting, make sure contiguous is unchecked, select one of the letters, the rest of them follow through. I'm going to go to this sunshine, the orange image, and this is where I'm going to go to Control C and Control V, and this is where I'm going to center this. Actually, I don't even have to worry about it because I'm not going to be using the background. I'm going to get rid of the background of the sun, and I'm going to get rid of the original letters, and now here is my design. And it's at this point that I can put some effects on this the way that I would like. I could put it in the filter. I could do my drop shadow, my outline. Inner glow and outer glow do first. Do drop shadow last. if you do the drop shadow, and I'm going to show you this right here, if you do the drop shadow, and then you go ahead and you put the outer glow on, what happens is it puts the glow around the shadow, which is not what you want. Puts it around the shadow as well as the letters. So it's not as good of a look as if you did the glow first. Like I said, whether it's inner or outer. I like the inner. I'm just going to change the color. So if you ended up doing something like this, your background will be, the drop shadow will be applied proper. So hopefully you guys figure out the order. I think I gave you enough to think about. And one last thing, if you do decide, let's bring this back for a second. And if you do decide, again, if you have one color, get rid of these guys. If you have one image and you just want to work with the one image, but you want contrast, you can select your letters, go to your background, copy, paste, move them into place so they line up, fit right on top of the letters, there, and visible. So if I go to filter, if I go to filter and outer glow, you can see just the outer glow shows up and the whole bit. But also another thing you can do is you can go to these letters and you can go to hue saturation and you can just do a subtle change of hue. You can go darker, lighter. It's another interesting look. That's pretty nice. Okay, so I'm really looking for you guys to explore your possibilities and hopefully you come up with something that you're really, really proud of and you're really happy with. All right, so have a good time. You know how to reach me if you have any questions.